Is atheism a self-fulfilling prophecy? Right now on The Bearded Prophet. Hey guys and gals, Adam here on The Bearded Prophet, continuing to talk about the hot button subject of atheism. Is there a God? Is there anything out there? Any reason to believe in God or a God? Why should we have faith at all? Yeah, let's talk about that right now. Is atheism a self-fulfilling prophecy? Does what you think about God actually influence your ability to see or perceive Him? In other words, if you're someone that says there is no God, then everything you look at is probably going to point you toward that reality. But guess what? The same can also be true. If you're someone that says, yes, there is a God, it might actually be easier to look at something, a beautiful sunrise or sunset, and go, wow, I can imagine God making that or painting that beautiful picture. It says in the Bible, all of creation testifies that there is a God. And so I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I was in early college, I made a decision to fully give my life over to God. Yeah, I was raised in church. I knew Jesus. I was a Christian. But man, I got off to college. I didn't want to live for Him. I didn't want to serve Him. I was into doing my own thing. Well, guess what? That went on for a few months, and then God kind of got my attention through a series of events. I won't go into all of it here, but basically I ended up surrendering, or maybe fully surrendering my life to God. I came back home a few months later from college, and a funny thing happened. I had been living in that town for a couple of years, had moved there when I was still in high school, and the town had a reputation for being a very pretty town and even had beautiful landscape. I remember reading that in like a guidebook to the town, and I was like, what are they talking about? I never appreciated the town, didn't think it was beautiful, didn't really care. But guess what, folks? That summer I got back, and I remember driving around the very same town and being like, wow, this place is really pretty. Oh my gosh, I can see the beauty people are talking about. Wow, that is a beautiful landscape or a beautiful view or vista. Had the town changed? No. What had changed? I changed. My perspective changed. It was as if scales had come off my eyes. And there's another thing in the Bible, in the book of Ephesians, where St. Paul prays. He says, I pray that the eyes of your understanding would be enlightened. Did you know that your understanding actually kind of has eyelids, so to speak? What do eyelids do? They cover your eyes. Or that we can have eyes, we all have eyes, but they can be shrouded in darkness. If we live in a dark room, it won't matter how much we open our eyes, we just can't see very much around us. But when a ray of light hits your eyes, or someone turns on the lights in that room, you're like, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff here. Imagine that analogy for a minute. What if you're going through life like in a darkened state, or you're in a room and it's dark and you think, yeah, this is all there is. This room's kind of miserable. I don't know where stuff is. Life's kind of hard. Life's kind of dark. And that's your way of processing life. But then someone flicks on the light or opens a window or the shade and light comes in and hits your eyes. All of a sudden you see this whole new reality you couldn't see before. Now, again, had your circumstances changed? Were you in a different room or a different world, or was I in a different town? No, you're in the same place. But when the light hits you, what you see and how you see things changes. What am I getting at here? The Bible also says that as a man thinks in his mind, so he is. And really, the most powerful part of the human body is not this muscle or that muscle or this. It's actually right here. The most powerful organ or part of your body is your brain. And what you think and what you tell yourself actually does have a major factor on how you process life and reality and how you live. And you can even control a lot of your thoughts. You can't control all of them, but you can choose to think about certain things. You can choose to steer your mind a certain way. People who are both religious and completely non-religious know this reality. In fact, you can Google tons of videos, even here on YouTube, about change your mind, change your life, and just the power of positive thinking and all these things. And I'm not endorsing any one of these videos in particular. I'm just saying that many people have tapped into there is some truth to this mind being very powerful in dictating the flow of your life. So let me bring it back to atheism. I want to talk to you, first, my atheist friends, but also I have a word in here for religious people, so don't tune out if you're not an atheist. What I want to say to you who are atheists is, have you considered or allowed yourself to consider that yes, there could be a God? Now, I know that many of you may have grown up in faith or grown up in a church or some kind of religion. You got disenchanted, you got hurt, you got disillusioned, and you turned away. Now, some of you, and I've seen a comment, you were involved in a group that is considered a cult, and I'm glad you got out of that. There's plenty of false religion out there. Not everyone who claims the name of Jesus is really following him. And not every church is really practicing the Bible, and not even every Christian truly walks in love. Even Christian people can do bad and harmful things. I want to say I'm sorry. But to be a Christian means to be a follower of Jesus Christ. And just because a human being hurts you, or a church or religious institution hurts you, or even deceived you, I am sorry about that. It doesn't necessarily make God unreal, or God the deceiver, or God at fault. And so please don't turn your anger, hurt, or disappointment at human beings and human-led institutions onto God, who is holy, almighty, pure, and righteous and good. The other thing I want to say is, please, would you even reconsider now? Maybe you turned away in your teenage years, kind of like I did, where in my teenage years, I had to give my life back to God or turn back to him. And maybe you're a little bit older now. Have you reconsidered, or would you reconsider? Could there actually be a God? How would that even change things? Would you let a little bit of that light in and hit your eyes and even ask for more? Hey, if you're there, can you show me, or can you help me to see you? But what I want to say to my religious friends is, have you ever owned your faith? Because one of the things that atheists will say is, well, you just believe because you grew up in it. You just believe because you were raised in it. You've been told your whole life that there's a God, or you have to believe, or Jesus, or the Bible, or whatever, or some other faith. Well, guess what, guys? Whether you were raised an atheist or raised a believer in some faith, or even the Christian faith, it doesn't matter. What actually matters is what you choose. You are not any one religion because you were born or grew up in it. It actually matters what you believe. I've met people of all different faiths. Oh yeah, I'm a this and that, but I don't really know what I believe, Christian and otherwise. And when we get up there and face the Lord who made us, he's not going to ask, what were your parents? What culture? What religion were you born into? He's going to ask, which one did you choose? Where do you stand? Who do you put your faith in? And so maybe that's some of you. Yeah, you grew up in church or in a religious faith, and you're just kind of going along with it because that's what you've always been told. Now, hey, I'm glad you're in faith and not out of it, but have you ever owned that faith? Have you ever made it your own? I had that wrestle when I was in college where, yeah, I knew God was real, but I didn't want to live for him. And I decided to do my own thing for a season, and he let me. But then in faithfulness, he brought me back, brought me to my knees, and I said, no, you're the boss, you're the Lord, I'm going to follow you. And so I want to challenge you, if you've never had that moment, if you're just coasting along, you go to church or do religious things because your family does, I mean, hey, like I said, I'm glad you're doing something along those lines. But I want you to ask some hard questions. Have I really put my faith in God, or am I just following tradition because that's what I've always done? Whether you're a Christian or of some other faith, you need to ask yourself these same questions I want the atheist to ask. Is there really a God? What's he really like? What does he really want from us? So that's it. Good news for atheists, and a challenge even for religious folks. For the atheist, can you let in a little bit of light? Can you ask that your eyes will be opened if you're missing anything, if you're actually walking in darkness and not in light? I believe God will give light to those who are truly, humbly asking. And to the religious folks, have you ever questioned your faith, and have you ever made the faith your own? Have you ever owned it? Have you ever put your own personal faith and trust in Jesus? Not in tradition, not in simply what mom and dad or a preacher or someone else said. Do you actually know God for you? And I posted videos on my channel. Do you really know God? Or are you just following some other God or religion or something less? That's not good enough. That won't get you in. Thank you so much for joining me here on The Bearded Prophet. It is a delight to bring these videos to you and to continue to discuss this and other hot button topics. I want to urge you to go ahead and click on some of the other great videos and playlists on the channel, and also click on that subscription button and hit the notification bell so you will always be among the first to know of the latest videos on The Bearded Prophet.